Citation Management with Zotero. I'm going to give you an introduction to Zotero, starting with what it does, what you can expect to actually get out of it, the steps for getting started and installing it, and then how you can actually accomplish those things that you'd like to do with it. So what does Zotero do? It helps you keep track of your references or resources. It's great for organizing all of those materials, keeping them in exactly one place so that you don't have to look elsewhere for them. And I find this to be one of the most valuable and the most basic part of Zotero. It saves editable metadata for each reference. So the metadata is information about each one of the sources that you're using. That might include author, publication title, website link, all of the information about it that allows you to edit the materials in case it needs to be adjusted a little bit, add more material to it, and lets you know exactly what you have. It saves the full text for each reference. Now this is limited to whether the full text is available to you on the website or other resource that you're using, but whenever that is an available option, then when you save a reference from Zotero, it will save the full text as well. Even if you get the text from somewhere else, you can drag that into Zotero and associate it with the metadata that you already have. It organizes your notes and tags for each reference. So you can add tags, which are a type of metadata, to a reference, and you can make that tag whatever is useful for you. It might be the name of a grant that you're working on or anything else that means something to you. You can also take notes in Zotero on each one of your references, and that's then associated with that listing. It deduplicates references for you. So there is a function that will compare the sources that you have in your folder, lets you know which ones appear to be the same thing, and then lets you select which one is going to be the main file for you. This is really helpful as you might come across some of the same references throughout your research, and this way you don't have to go through it one by one to try and figure out where there might be duplicates. It lets you organize your references into libraries and folders. This is pretty similar to how you would in any sort of folder application on your computer, but it's really useful so that you can group similar items together. It creates a bibliography for you from a variety of styles. This is when you might actually want to edit some of the metadata that comes along with each one of the references to make sure it's in the right formats for your bibliographies. But you can select one or all of your references, export that as a bibliography in the style of your choice, and paste that or save it into whichever document or folder you're keeping track of them in. So it saves a great deal of time that way. It also manages in-text or parenthetical citations. It does this with a plugin into Word, and this will be really helpful for you when you're writing material and need to add an in-text citation right there. Zotero pops right up and manages those citations for you. It syncs with its website so that you have remote access to your materials if you would like that. And finally, it allows collaboration between researchers through the function of group libraries. Okay, so how does Zotero actually work? Zotero is a three-part piece of software. The first is a desktop application, which you can download for free from their website. This works for both Mac and PC. The second part is a browser extension. This is available in Chrome, Firefox, and several other browsers. And the third part is your free online account. By pairing these three parts together, you get the full functionality out of Zotero. Okay, so let's take a look at how we actually get Zotero onto our computers and get set up to use it. Here's the Zotero website, which is zotero.org. The homepage has the download button front and center. Click that, and it will give you two pieces of software that you'll want to add. The first is the downloaded application for your computer, and the second is the browser extension. It does automatically sense which machine you're on and what browser you're using. So for me, it's recommending Zotero 6 for Mac and the Chrome connector. Download and install each one of these. Once you download and install the application and the browser connection, then you'll create a free online account. At the top, you can register for that account. If you already have one, you can log in. Register by creating a username, putting in your email, creating a password, and then clicking register. Once you've downloaded the desktop application, open it up. Yours will initially look empty. You can see that mine already has a lot of materials imported into it because I use it regularly. First, you'll want to take a look at My Library, which is up here at the top left of your screen. This is essentially your folder of all of the resources that you're downloading. It will initially, as I said, look empty there. You can see that mine has 415 items at this point. You can create a folder within it, which they call a collection. I can create one called Example. And you can see that I have a number of folders within my library. This one is empty because I haven't put anything into it yet, but I do have others that have sometimes a few resources, sometimes many resources, and I can adjust these as I see fit. All of the items from all of my folders show up in the tab for My Library. They can also appear in multiple folders simultaneously. There's a single instance in the library, and then you can organize the listing for it within each of these folders. Some of these just have some information. So, for example, here we're looking at a journal article with the title Associations Between School-Related Factors and Mental Health Among Transgender and Gender-Diverse Youth. This is the metadata tab that will show you all of the information about this resource. There are the authors, the title, the item type, the abstract is here as well. That was downloaded along with it, the date of publication. And you can edit any of these fields. So if there's a typo or some other information that needs to be fixed, just click it and edit that information. If you want to change the type of resource that it is, you can do so with that drop-down menu. It's usually correct when it downloads information, but you may need to adjust it from time to time. Now this is the Info tab. Next to it are the notes, so I could add a note for myself and type into that word processor there. You can see it actually adds the note right below this information, so it falls right below the actual resource right there. You can also have tags. Many of them have been auto-imported, and you can add your own. So if this is related to a grant application, you could type that in there, and then you would be able to search for all of your resources for that grant application. And then there's a tab for related resources. So if there are other journal articles that remind you of this one or that you'd like to use with it, then you can add those here. It actually pulls up that library, so I might say that this article is related, say OK, and then it pops right up there. Back to the listing of all of these resources. Some of them have a little PDF icon next to them. Those are ones where there is the full text that downloaded alongside the metadata. Click the down arrow. That will show you that there is full text. Double click it and it will open up a new tab, and you can read that article right within Zotero. So this leaves us the question of how do all of these resources actually get into Zotero? Let's take a look. Starting from the library website, which is where you will often start your search, I'm going to go into CINAHL, and then I'll do a sample search. I'll look for information on palliative care. There are many results, 53,000 to start. You can see a wide variety there. Clicking a title of one that may be interesting to me. I can go up to the Zotero extension, which changes the way it looks depending on the type of resource that we have here, and click Save to Zotero. Now it's saving to the My Library folder because that's what I currently have open. In order to save to Zotero, the Zotero desktop app itself needs to be open. You can see that this is actually the one that just got added. Here's the information about it, all of the metadata included, the tags that came with it. Looks like this one didn't have any specific ones, but I could add my own. And you can see the date that it was added, which is always helpful for organizing your materials and seeing what you still need to read. This one did not have full text associated with it, which is because in this database, in CINAHL, it doesn't immediately show me the full text. So I'll click the Find It at WSU button and see if we do have it in our library collections in a different database. In this case, it looks like we don't. So I would be able to sign in, request this item through interlibrary loan, and then add it into Zotero once I receive the PDF. So now we've returned to our search results here. I'm going to limit to full text just so that we can see a good example of what that will look like. Here are social relations and exclusion among people facing death. I can see that this does have the full text, both HTML and PDF. And I'll click my Zotero link. It saves to my library, and this time you can see that the full text is included. So I go back down to Zotero, take a look. Here's that article. Here's all of the metadata about that article. Click the down arrow to see the full text there. There is a link to it that I could click. You can just double click that PDF icon, and here's the full text for that article. This does also have some annotation features, so you can highlight text within it. You can add a note. You can select part of it, and you can change the highlighter color that you're using. Now, all of this has been adding information directly into my library without organizing it in any way yet. What I can do is just drag and drop that information into my example folder. And I could also have that folder open, the one that I want to be using, and save to Zotero this way. Earlier, I mentioned that Zotero allows you to deduplicate items. To do that, you go to the bottom of My Library, where Duplicate Item shows up. You can see a few places where I've downloaded the same thing a couple of times. Sometimes those come from slightly different databases, or there's some difference in the metadata about them. It looks like sometimes these are identical, sometimes not. If I sort by title, it's a little bit easier to see those duplicate items. I click the first one and it highlights the two listings that may be identical. I can take a look at the slightly different varieties that I have, select the one that I like best, merge the two items using that metadata, and it moves on to the next one. Again, I take a look at the metadata associated, choose the one that works best for me, and merge them. So it's a very simple process, and it helps you find those duplicated items. Now, what do you do if you'd like to actually access all of these resources remotely? So maybe when you're not on your computer and don't have access to this desktop application. To do that, you'll want to go into the settings for Zotero. This will look slightly different if you're on a PC version. You go to Sync, and then you can link your account. So you'd sign in with the username and password that you just selected. You could choose which libraries you would like to sync online. I have mine set to sync automatically and to include the full text of all of the content. So I've already logged into Zotero, and I can go to my web library, which will show me all of my materials. You can see this is exactly what we were looking at before in my desktop application. Now, if you want to add some material manually, so maybe not something that you're currently finding online, maybe some materials that you've already found, you can do that with this plus icon at the top of the screen. You can select what type you're adding, for instance, a journal article, fill in the information manually, and then you can drag and drop your PDF directly onto this listing to have it associated with it. One of the features that I really like about Zotero is that it also automatically renames the PDF so that it lists it consistently with the author's name, title, and journal name. This is actually most helpful if you're trying to share a document with somebody else, like over email or another way, so that you can actually just drag and drop that PDF from Zotero, for instance, into your email, and it will display the new file name, so it's really clear to the person you're sending it to what it is that they're receiving. What I'd like to talk a little bit more about is how you will use this for collaborating with other researchers. You can see that on the left-hand side, mine includes a section for group libraries, and these are things that I can set up from the Zotero website. So I've already logged into Zotero, but then we go to groups in order to create and manage groups. So here are the groups that I'm either part of or manage, and then I can create a new group. So in this case, I can create an example. There are different types of group types. I always choose a private membership so that nobody can view the group online unless they've been invited, and then create the group. I need it to just be group members. Any group members can edit it. In this case, you could restrict that to group administrators. Again, the same thing for file editing. Save those settings. Go to the members settings, and you can send invitations to your colleagues, invite them to create their account and be part of your online library, and you can update roles such as owner, admin, and group member. Finally, that first tab is for group settings. So you could change the group name, add a description of it, the disciplines that you're part of, a profile image, all sorts of options there. So once you've created a group, then you go back into Zotero and you'll see that in your group libraries. I'm going to sync mine, make sure that it's up to date, and here's my example group library. And this works very similarly to what we were just working with. You can create folders within it, and I can add information directly into there. Now, Zotero doesn't just save information like journal articles. I could even save this page from Zotero. Just click the icon. It's going into my example folder. Head to Zotero, and there it is. Not the most useful citation, but there it is in case I need that. You can add notes about it, add tags, all of that stuff that we talked about. So that really completes the quick and dirty tips for getting Zotero installed, getting started with using it, saving those citations, organizing them, and sharing them with your colleagues. The next thing that I want to show you is what we do once we have all of those materials saved and we're ready to create citations and reference lists. I'm going to use an example here from some current research of mine where I'm looking at libraries and imposter syndrome. And I'm going to highlight all of these references directly. Once they're highlighted, right-click. You can move them around to different collections, but I'm going to create a bibliography from them. I'd like to use a PA citation. It's creating a bibliography instead of citations. And I'd like to copy it to a clipboard because that's the easiest for me to get it into a Word document. Okay. So here's the document that I'm working in, and I paste the materials directly into it, and there is my full reference list from that folder. Now you might notice that some of these are a little bit off. Especially capitalization tends to be an issue for Zotero and any reference software. That's because it's really hard for a machine to really know the difference between proper nouns and other standard words. We use some words in both ways, some of them capitalized, some of them not capitalized. Sometimes if things are part of a name like an organization, they wouldn't typically be capitalized, but now they are. So that's one of the areas that you will want to edit the metadata. This is pulling straight from the metadata that's saved in Zotero. So if I see that first one, the Anderson-Zorn piece is capitalized too much, so I go into Zotero, start with my creator so that it's alphabetized, come in here, and I can edit this so that I can say that these letters need to be lowercase. And then I'm just going to create the bibliography from this item in particular. Come back in here and put it in, and now it's correct. So you can see that it's really just coming straight from that metadata. It's a useful ability to edit it. I like to edit all of my metadata, then export it all at once. So now I have my reference list, and that's great, but it's time to add citations into the actual text of my paper. Here I have some text. This is actually generated by ChatGPT, so I can't speak to the validity of any of it, but thought it would be useful for this demonstration. And I'm going to add some citations to it. Again, the actual citations aren't going to be relevant to the text here specifically, just because of the nature of the example, but it should get us started. So here I have my first sentence. I can put my cursor at the end of it before the period, exactly where the parenthetical citation will go. Click Zotero at the top of my screen, and then add edit citation. Now, previously I was using the Chicago Manual of Style. I'm going to switch that to APA, and I've had it set here to automatically update citations, which means that if I change the reference in Zotero, it will automatically update the citation in this Word document so that it matches. So if I change the spelling of the last name, for example, or the year of publication, it will update that here. Click OK. And then we have the Zotero little pop-up show up there. And I can say, okay, I want the Anderson citation. And it looks through all of my folders in Zotero to find articles that use the word Anderson. You can see several of them show up. I look for the one in the folder that I'm interested in. It pops up there. I'll hit space and then look for the next one. Maybe there's one by somebody named Smith. Again, I'll take a look to see if there's one in the folder that I'm actually using. Doesn't look like there is, so I'll just grab one from another folder that I'm using. And looks like maybe that's the one that I want. So maybe Smith was an author farther down the author list, so it doesn't show up exactly in the citation. Click Enter, and you can see that it actually pops up right there. So everything is present. I'll add a space to make sure that that's correct. And it's currently highlighted in gray because this is actually a field that we can go back and edit. So if I click outside of it, it's no longer highlighted in gray, but inside it's letting me know that that's a whole field. So if I do want to change it, if I've forgotten an author or need to change anything else in it, I just click Add Edit Citation. I can come back in here and say I'm looking for another author by the name of Blake. See what pops up. And okay, here's the one that I'm interested in. It actually puts it into the alphabetical order exactly as it should be. So that's really helpful to me. Enter again, and it's updated that citation. Again, since I've asked it to keep these citations updated based on the information in Zotero, if I went back and changed the spelling of the name or any other information, this would automatically update. You can also add a manual citation here, so I could add another Smith et al. 1992. Obviously, that's now not in the right alphabetical order, so I would want to put that here in between Sinclair and the next author, Sumarsono. I can delete that so that we're back to our citation as it is. So this is a plugin that I have added to Microsoft Word. You won't automatically have it, but the way that you get that is by going into Zotero, into the settings. Obviously, this will look a little bit different if you're on a PC. And then I go to the Cite tab. There are the different styles that you can choose between. I switch to word processors, and under Microsoft Word, you can install that add-in. Here, since I already have it installed, I can reinstall it. Once you've done that, then it will show up in your Microsoft Word. Obviously, you'll probably need to restart Word if it's already open, and you're good to go. If you ever do want to unlink the citations, so like when I edited one of these and I don't want it to update if I change the metadata, then you just click Unlink Citations in that tab. And that brings us to the end of this tutorial on using Zotero. Hopefully this will make the whole process of doing research a little bit easier. I really enjoy this in part because I can easily save materials as I find them. Instead of trying to pull up a lot of different materials and then save them once I have a few, I can just click that browser extension button and it's automatically saving. I can then go back and organize them the way that I see fit based on how that research went. It's also very helpful at the end stages of research where you are making sure that your references and citations are in order, because it does automatically import them. Very easy to edit them and make sure that they're correct.